On April 21st, 1989, Super Mario Land was released in Japan as a release title for Nintendo's new handheld console, the Game Boy. It was a Mario game, but teeny tiny, and it was weird. It didn't take place in a Mushroom Kingdom, but instead in a place called Sarasa Land. Mario would not be trying to save Princess Peach from Bowser, but instead, he would be trying to save Princess Daisy from an evil alien spaceman. Along the way, you'd fight the Sphinx and a seahorse, and you would even fly a plane. Like I said, it was weird. Speaking of weird, the Super Mario Land series would give us one other character whose legacy is still going strong to this day. Super Mario Land 2, and then Super Mario Land 3 would feature Wario, Mario's arch nemesis to this day. Today we're going to be taking a look back at the entire Super Mario Land series and talk briefly about all of its oddities as we take an abbreviated trip down memory card lane. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I hope these words find you well. Hello, and welcome to the 34th episode of our Video Game Nostalgia podcast, A Trip Down Memory Card Lane. Each week, we pick one title from the current week in gaming history, and we talk about it. While doing so, we hope to teach you something new about the game or the world around it. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Super Mario Land series for the Game Boy. I'm David Casson, and as always, I'm joined by my co host, who is also resized for smaller devices like Super Mario Land, my brother, Rob Casson. Rob, what's it like being described as strange compared to the rest of us?
Well, pretty par for the course when you're me.
Oh, yeah, so you're good with being strange.
I mean, hey, sometimes you just have to embrace it, you know?
Very true. Very true. There's nothing wrong with being strange. And I gotta tell you, Super Mario Land is strange. As a series, it's strange.
I don't have much familiarity with it, but the little that I do, yeah, it's definitely quite different than what we're used to.
Very, very, very true. Very, very, very true. Yeah, Super Mario Land. Super Mario Land was released April 21st, 1989 in Japan. So hence we're talking about it this week. We're doing a Japanese release. This was also released alongside the Game Boy, which is something kind of cool. You played Game Boy. You were a Pokemon fan on the Game Boy, though, correct?
That is correct. I spent many hours playing Pokemon on the Game Boy.
Isn't that hard to believe? I mean, I guess it's not because we're talking about Mario, but I mean, you're playing what Sword and Shield now, Pokemon, and it started here with Pokemon Red and Blue on the Game Boy. It's kind of cool, actually.
No, it is. It's just goes to show that when you have something that's popular and you keep updating it with the times, it can just continue going on.
Yeah, yeah. Pokemon just turned what 20
5?
25, and we're gonna be talking about it later this year.
Yep,
So that's gonna be kind of cool. But
that it will.
back to Super Mario Land. Back to Super Mario Land. So Super Mario Land, like I said, was released alongside the Game Boy. It was the first Mario game ever to be released for a handheld console. I mean, let's be honest, the Game Boy was one of the first handheld consoles. It was pretty revolutionary. Super Mario Land was also the first Mario Brothers to be ever be developed without the face of Mario, Shigeru Miyamoto. And so admittedly, it's a little like I said, it's a little strange. It's a little different. Unlike other Mario games, which take place in the Mushroom Kingdom, Super Mario Land is set in Sarasa Land, and yeah, it's not mushrooms. It's like, I don't know, Egypt, like pyramids and Sphinx and the giant heads from Easter Island and octopuses and I don't know, flying fish. I mean, the main boss of this game is an alien. It's not Bowser, it's not anything. And we're not in Mushroom Kingdom, so no Princess Toadstool. The princess of Sarasaland. It's the only Sarasaland game as a series, so I can never remember how to say it right. But instead of Princess Toadstool, we have Princess Daisy. I don't think Princess Daisy's been in any other mainline Mario games. She's been in every spin-off known to man, though, hasn't she?
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure, isn't she in Smash? She's in Smash.
Yeah,
She's in Smash,
she's in
and I
everything.
believe yeah, well, oh yeah, I guess
Mario
you're right.
Kart,
The
Smash,
baseball, tennis, you're
baseball,
right.
tennis. Yeah, probably ran in the Olympics. I don't know. I haven't really played the Olympic games, but I'm sure she's won an Olympic gold medal on some system somewhere.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really think of it that way, but you're right. She hasn't been in anything else.
So yeah, there's just man, there's just weird things about this game, right? So Koopa shells explode after they're bounced on. Mario doesn't throw fireballs in this game, probably because the graphical limitations of the Game Boy. He throws what the manual refers to as super balls, which you can insert any super ball joke that you want to there, be my guest.
Super Balls, Dave.
uh One up mushrooms are heart level end flagpoles are now platform challenges. There, I mean, obviously, a lot of this was limitations of technical limitations of the system, But I can't help but think that some of this was just design differences. It was developed by Nintendo R&D1, which is another development studio of Nintendo that wasn't the normal Mario one. Nintendo R&D1 is known for so many things. They made the Game and Watch, which was the handheld series, but
Yep.
before there was a Game Boy. They made the Game Boy. This game was developed alongside the Game Boy to be a launch title. Now, in the United States, they changed their mind. They decided to release Game Boy with they were originally going to release it with Super Mario Land, but they were convinced to release it with Tetris, thinking that it was going to appeal to a wider audience. And so Tetris became the packaged title and Super Mario Land became the launch title. So fun fact, R&D1 also made the Virtual Boy, which we vaguely touched on in the
Oof.
past. I know, I know.
Can't win them all.
But then let's talk about the games that were developed by Nintendo R&D1. Donkey Kong, which I mean
Mm.
inevitably came, that's where Mario came from. Baseball we've talked about because it's the first video game I ever remember playing. Balloon Fight, Ice Climber. They made the Metroid series originally, the Kid Icarus series. They're the ones that brought Tetris over. They made Dr. Mario. They made I don't know, Mario Tennis and all sorts of stuff. So there is a lot of pedigree in Nintendo R&D1, and so it's no surprise that they were given the ability to make a Mario game alongside the Game Boy, but again, it's weird. It's weird. Not Princess Toadstool, Princess Peach. Isn't Princess Peach the normal princess one? I don't know why I just had that thought, but it is Princess Peach.
I mean,
Princess Toadstool. What the hell am I on?
I was just gonna let you run with it, Dave, and let everyone
Make
get you.
fun of
But
me? Yeah, it's Princess Peach. I got it.
well, actually,
Whatever. Princess Peach of the Mushroom Kingdom. Princess Daisy of Sarasaland.
it's actually Princess Peach Toadstool, right, Dave?
Is it really?
Yes, that's her full name.
Yeah, but who calls her Princess Peach Toadstool?
Well, I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
but there was a game that was Princess Toadstool's Castle Run, so
Hmm. But I mean, it is Mario though. It's a platforming game. It's just shrunk. It's everything about this game is smaller. Super Mario Brothers had 32 levels. It had 8 worlds with 4 levels apiece. Super Mario Land has 12 levels, which are 4 worlds, level 4-1, 4-2, 1-1, 1-2 with 3 levels apiece.
it's a lot of
There's
numbers.
there's 5 bosses, one at each of the 4 worlds, and then, there's the final boss, the alien boss, which Look, I want to talk about this for a second. I remember Super Mario Land. We had a Game Boy. I remember playing it on car rides when mom and dad would go shopping and asking to be, sit in the car so I could keep playing my Game Boy because I didn't want to be bothered going shopping. I actually remember beating this game. It was an accomplishment for me. And I was sitting in the back of mom and dad had I think, 89 baby blue Bronco. And yeah, I was sitting in the back of the Bronco when I beat this game. But it had 2 levels, including the last level, that were super weird. They were not side-scrolling platform levels. They were shooter levels. You were in a plane, and this it was, the level was scrolling, and enemies would come at you, and you would have to shoot them down. It was a flying level, and that's the way the game ended, was beating this alien boss in a UFO in the flying level, and it was weird. That's all I could think. It was weird. It was super weird. Ah, God, was it weird. But it felt so accomplished. And I went back to play it again, and it's super easy now, and it's only like a 1-hour game. And it's just, we've talked about it time and time again. It's so funny when you think about how your concept of time changes, because I just remember this game not being an hour long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
I I just remember it not being an hour long. Oh, man. It was just bizarre. It was just bizarre. That's all I can say, it was just bizarre.
Yeah, the whole plane angle is definitely different.
You don't remember playing this at all?
This is not one that I think I've had the pleasure of playing. It doesn't. I mean, I've seen videos of the game, but I don't remember having ever played it myself.
Yeah, it's not a big investment, and it's almost funny because it's weird with the artwork, the Mario. Like I said, you've got pyramids and you've got the heads from Easter Island. It just had some really, really weird art. Um, yeah, that's it. It just had some really weird art. Um, I don't know. I don't know. It is it was just it's short. I I think that it it was noted at the time as being like critics critics were pretty critical of it. They thought that it was short. They thought that, you know, um, you had a mixture of them, right? You had people that thought it was a technological marvel because it came with the Game Boy, and the Game Boy was a very technological marvel. And then you had people that were really critical about it because it was just bizarre and it was too short, and yeah, it was just different. But it spawned a whole series. We have Princess Daisy because of the first game, but it's the second game that gave us what I think is a much more significant character in the Super Mario universe nowadays. Do you know which character we were given in Super Mario Land 2?
Two,
Yeah, Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins. Do you know why Mario had to collect 6 golden coins?
to pay his rent.
To pay someone's rent, but it wasn't his rent. I guess it was his rent. He was collecting them so he could get entry back to his own castle, but it's because his castle was taken over by someone.
Oh, jeez.
So Super Mario Land 2 is the first Wario game in the entire series.
Oh, that's where he comes from?
He comes from Super Mario Land 2.
Nice.
So the first one is a pretty the plot of the first Super Mario is a pretty standard Super Mario plotline, right? Mario comes to Sarasaland. Princess Daisy gets kidnapped by an alien. Tatanga, I believe, is the alien's name, and then um, and then Mario goes to rescue Princess Daisy, right? In the second game, the plot line it pretty much takes place immediately following the events. So basically, while Mario is away in Sarasa Land, rescuing Princess Daisy, his jealous childhood acquaintance, Wario, puts a spell over Mario's private island, which is called Mario Land, who would have guessed, which brainwashes everyone on the island to believe that Wario is their master and Mario is their enemy. And so basically, Wario out of nowhere was like, hey, I'm going to steal Mario's castle because I want a castle for myself. And so he just decides to brainwash everyone. And so basically, Mario has to travel through Mario Land, collect these 6 golden coins, which allows him to get back into his castle. Inside the castle, he gets to confront Wario, and he beats him. It breaks the spell, and Mario gets his castle back. That's the second game. The second game is a much more traditional Mario. Okay, the second game has an overworld map, so it's like Super Mario Brother 3 or Super Mario
Hmm.
World. The player can now move right and left on a stage because technology had progressed at the time. You know, we've got normal turtles and normal Goombas and mushrooms and it was a much more traditional Mario game, you know. And it did come, to be fair, it came 3 years later. Mario Land was 89 and Mario Land 2 was 92. So, yeah, 3 years later. You know, the first game, they were still learning the Game Boy alongside, and the second game, they kind of already knew, you know? Not that this is a long game. The first game was like an hour investment. This is like a 2.5 to 3 hour investment, I think. Wario came all the way back then, you know, and there's a lot of really fascinating things behind Wario. Rob, what do you know about Wario?
He has a badass motorcycle and likes to fart.
Those are very good things, actually. I'm glad that you took a bit of that out.
I mean, hey, that it reminded me of myself, so I said that's my kind of guy.
So Wario was described by some of his creators as the Bluto to Mario's Popeye. So he was his antagonist. The name Wario is a play on obviously Mario and Wario, which is the Japanese phrase literally meaning bad. Did I butcher that? I probably butchered that. And coincidentally, a W is an M turned upside down. I'm sure they knew that, but you know, it was just a funny coincidence. It's also really funny because there's some lore behind it that the R&D1 team did not want to work on this Super Mario series. And so, you know, at the time, the main Mario guys, led by Shigeru Miyamoto, were working on Wave Race and Super Mario Kart when they were making this game. And so they created Wario out of the disdain they felt for having to work on a game series that started a character that they didn't create because Mario wasn't their guy, you know. They were much more wanting to work on their Metroids of the world. And so I think it's funny that they created this mean, nasty, farting character. Yeah, character that you know, out of spite. Wario was created out of spite, basically.
That's pretty legendary, actually.
Oh man. And Wario is still around. You know, he's a popular character, a very popular character. Super Mario Land 3 would continue Wario because Super Mario Land 3 is called Wario Land. I know, crazy, right?
Very crazy, actually. I mean, I don't know, man. Seems a little coincidental here.
I know, it's crazy. And so, I mean, as you can imagine, Super Mario Land 3 does not star Mario, it stars Wario. He is the main character in this one. And in Wario Land, he goes against Captain what was the Captain Syrup and the Brown Sugar Pirates. Talk about a villain name, right?
Oh, was he fighting oatmeal?
I you know, so
What?
it's really funny, man, because the plot of the third one. So in Mario Land 2, he gets ejected from Mario's castle at the end of the game, right? And so throws a little hissy fit and he resolves to get his own castle. He wants to make it bigger and more impressive. And so in order to fund this dream, grandiose dream of a giant castle, he travels to Kitchen Island. Kitchen Island. Are you following me so far?
No.
At Kitchen Island, he meets he basically on Kitchen Island, the brown sugar pirates have hidden treasure and coins And among these treasure and coins, there's even a golden statue of Princess Peach that was stolen from the Mushroom Kingdom. And so basically, Wario wants to retrieve this statue and sell it back to Mario for the price of a grandiose castle. He explores the island, he steals the pirates' treasure, he infiltrates their castle, which is called Syrup Castle. He confronts their leader, who's named Captain Syrup. She summons a genie to destroy Wario. He defeats the genie. Syrup destroys the castle with her castle with a large bomb. And when she destroys the castle, she reveals their biggest treasure, the giant gold statue of Princess Peach. Okay. And at that moment, no joke, Mario appears in a helicopter, thanks Wario, and takes the statue away in front of his eyes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right? But Wario's still holding the genie's lamp, so he summons the genie and he wishes for a castle. But the genie tells him that it requires money to grant his wish. And so basically Wario then gives him all the coins that the players collected over the course of the game, plus trades in all the found treasures for more coins. And basically, depending on how many coins and treasures you had gotten during the game, you would get an ending that would be like the freaking, so you would get it, you could either get the castle, you could get a Chinese pagoda, you could get a log cabin, you could get a tree house, or you could be granted, if you had like no coins, a tiny birdhouse.
Oh,
A-
okay.
and look, so the if you collected all the treasures and you had enough coins to reach the max limit of the game, which was 99,999 coins,
Jeez.
the genie would give Wario an entire planet with his face etched on the surface. You
Nice.
could potentially win an entire planet with Wario on it. So
That's incredible.
I mean, it's outlandish. I remember this game as much as the last one. You know, this was also. I mean, this wasn't a traditional Mario. You know, because it had Wario, and you had helmets that Wario could obtain. A bull helmet, which would give him strength. I remember a jet helmet, which would let him fly, and there's one that you could shoot out flames to. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, it was just it was cool and it was different. And you know, it took playing it a lot meticulously to try to get the treasure. And then the treasures were in a weird place too. Like some levels had a locked treasure room. That treasure room had a unique treasure in it. So there was a key in the level, and you had to carry it to the treasure room, break open the chest, take the treasure, and then finish the level with it. And then you could train that. You know, you each treasure that you acquired would be you'd be able to trade it in for a set amount of coins. And like I said, at the end, you got different endings. So it was, God, it was just different. I don't know. I think these games were fun, but you know, they were Game Boy games, and in the scheme of Mario, they're definitely weird compared to everything else. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, at least I've never played them, but just watching some video gameplay of them, they're definitely unique and not what you think of when you think. Well, I mean, for someone who's never played them, that's not something that you would associate Mario with.
No, but it gave us Wario, and like you said, Wario is a goofy ass farting mofo,
That he is. So great job, Mario. Super Mario Land. Great job.
right? And so we got. I mean, how many Wario Land games did we end up after this? We had four, excuse me, four Wario Lands, one on five, Virtual Boy, and then the main series, Wario Land 2, Wario Land 3, Wario Land 4, Wario Land Shake It, and then you got the weird ones, Wario World, Wario Master of Disguise. I had the WarioWare series on the Wii, which was a lot of fun. I still have my one. And then of course he's been in all the spin-offs too, right? Is he in Smash? He's got to be in Smash.
Wario?
Yeah.
Of course he is.
Uh,
Waluigi isn't somehow, but Wario is.
I mean, he's been on all the Mario Karts, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, he's definitely been in all the Mario Karts. So this was just a really weird series. Really weird series that wasn't touched by, the guy that Mario's known for, Miyamoto, because it was made by R&D1. And R&D1 was typically led by Gunpei Yokoi, and he's the guy who's typically he's the designer of the Game Boy. He is the typically known as the guy who invented the cross-shaped control pad, created the Game and Watch system. He produced the original Metroid and Kid Icarus systems. And when I was doing my research for this, I found out something I didn't actually know about him. He died early at the age of 56 in a fatal car accident, and I was unaware he was in a car wreck where it was rear-ended, and when he got out of the car, another car unfortunately struck him, and he died from his injuries. So
Jeez.
I know, right?
Wasn't bad enough getting hit by the first one?
I think they did the first one, to be honest with you. I think
Oh,
originally yeah. So originally they rear-ended a truck, and when they had exit the car to inspect the damage, another car struck him and injured him.
man.
Um,
What a way.
I know, it's kind of a bummer, but they gave us a lot of really good things. Man, so Wario Land 3, I'm looking up the length of time to play it. Mario Land 3, just playing through it was 4 hours, but completing it, which I'm basically guessing is getting that 99,999 was 10 hours. So it was an extra 6 hours of playing it. I was talking to Ryan, who joined us on our podcast last week. Ryan and I were talking about this upcoming episode, and Ryan remembered basically playing Wario Land, like trying to get every treasure and every coin so he could get that special ending, and all the hours upon hours it took him to get there. So there are
Did
some
he get
people,
there?
as far yeah, he got there. He definitely got there.
Good for him.
Oh, man. Oh,
Can you imagine if he didn't?
well, a lot of us didn't at the time. A lot of us didn't.
Hmm.
Hmm. But yeah, that's the Mario Land series. I know they're not great games in the scheme of things. I think Mario Land was pretty good, but Mario Land, the first one in particular, was not a great game. I played it again. I played it again, and it's an hour investment, and yeah, it's rough. Mario Land 2 got better, and then Mario Land 3 even more so. But the technology had time to advance. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the technology had time to advance. I just I don't know. It's a fun blast for the past because of what it is. The Game Boy I had, the Game Boy I played, but for whatever reason, Game Boy games are like a giant black hole in my gaming memory. Like, I know I played this, but I had to think about it and I had to go back. I had to go back to play it. Like I had to go back. I know I owned Mario Land 2. I don't know if I own Wario Land, but I know I had played it because I remembered the treasure collecting treasure. But I don't have a lot of recollection. I have a lot of recollection of these games.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's nostalgic. I go back to this and I think about the nostalgia of playing the Game Boy and sitting in the back of a 1980s or 90s Ford Bronco that definitely is a color out of that time period, and not having color. I mean, come on, think about it, man. We all of us. All right, I can't speak for everyone, but I do think that a lot of us game handheld nowadays. I think a ton of people do it on their phone, but there's a lot of us doing it on our Switch. And think about that, man. In 1989, we were playing on a monochrome screen on a Game Boy, and now we're playing handheld on a video game system, full color screen that docks and moves to your big screen in like full HD. And that progression is just so freaking cool.
Yeah.
You like playing do you play handheld on your Switch?
Uh, yeah, I absolutely do. I mean, a lot of the time it's just because I don't feel like hooking it up to the TV because I have to like reconnect my dock. But it's also fun just take it, put some TV on, watch something on TV and just play the Switch.
Yeah, I leave my Switch on my bedside stand, and sometimes I like to, if I'm not in the mood to read, I'll have the Switch and a book on my stand, and whatever I feel like winding down to, I'll play games on it. But yeah, Mario Land. That is how we felt about it. Rob, how do you think critics felt about this game?
Hmm. I'm gonna think that critics probably liked it because it was like the first of its kind. But at the same time, it could also be that they hated it because it just wasn't Mario and they were trying to compare it to Mario.
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at the critic receptions. Game magazines at the time gave it 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 31 out of 40. So it was okay. Electronic Gaming Monthly noted that the game was fantastic and very fun to play, but very short. But also noted that it was the best Game Boy cart of the time. Official Nintendo magazine said the game was ridiculously short, given that you could finish it in under an hour. But yeah, I mean, there were lots of people who did like it. Computer and Video Game Magazine called the game an arcade machine in your pocket, and it had graphics that were remarkable for their size. So you're right. People compared it to what it was. A technological marvel. But I think when they compared it to other Mario games, it fell a little short. It doesn't really matter though. I mean, the Game Boy was an absolute success. Super Mario Land sold over 18 million copies, which is more than Super Mario 3, which is considered one of the better ones in the series. And even though this was not one of the better ones in the series, it sold the heck they sold the heck out of it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
They sold the heck out of it. Yep, 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 yep. I think though, first one the critics generally liked, and then let's see, the second one we went from 7 out of 10 to 8 out of 10. People praised the second one for having impressive visual improvements over Super Mario Land. Let's see what else. No, that's pretty much it. Everyone basically felt it was a vast improvement over over it. Heck, sometime years later, official Nintendo magazine ranked Super Mario Land 2 44th on their list of the 100 greatest Nintendo games, period. So it ranks really well up there.
Hmm.
And then if you're looking at the reception of Mario Land 3, it's kind of in the same place at 8 out of 10. I would argue that the legacy from Mario Land 3 is probably greater than all the others because it gave us Wario.
Yeah.
And I think Wario has had more impact than, well, let's be honest, we've never seen the alien we've never seen the alien enemy from the first Mario game again, Tatanga, and we do see Princess Daisy all the time though. I don't know if we've ever seen those super balls again.
Hmm. Can't say that I have, Dave.
Oh man, oy vey, oy vey. Yeah, I don't know. I remember playing Tetris and Dr. Mario on the Game Boy, but I remember the Game Boy Color. It was so cool we got to see these games in color. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, I believe it. After just a green screen.
Yeah, the monochrome screen, that was pretty neat. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, you know, this is about the time when I generally like to read user reviews for games. But they're pretty much the same as the critic reviews. People criticize the fact that it's weird, like we have. People criticize how short this game is. There's nothing striking about how people feel about it different than what we've already covered, which I guess that's a good thing, right? When everyone is pretty much in the same vein, uh I guess what am I trying to say, Rob?
I have no idea.
When everyone feels the same way about a game,
Bandwagon?
I guess that's a good thing, right? Everyone
Sure.
feels the same way.
Yeah.
It's pretty consistent in their criticism. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. The first one's too short. The second one was better. The third one is the third one because it gave us Wario. I still think the treasures on the third one were kind of fun. I never had the patience to play it long enough to get my face etched on the planet, though. I honestly don't remember what ending I got in out of Got It, but I do think that Wario I think Wario has a lot of attitude, um, that Mario doesn't have. I think nowadays you gotta consider nowadays we've got a lot more time. We've got 35 years of Mario, right? Because we just celebrated Mario 35. So we got 35 years of Mario and, different games, 3D games, cartoons and everything, but at the time we didn't have a lot of that. So I don't think Mario had a lot of character. And then came along Wario, his evil doppelganger, who has a lot of character. And I don't know. I just think that's fascinating the way they came up with that.
That it is, Dave.
You a Wario fan?
I do like
Yeah,
Wario. He's a
you
pretty
like
cool dude.
his the WarioWare games with the farting and the boogers and the all sorts of weird stuff.
Oh yeah.
WarioWare Smooth Moves. I'm staring at it on my shelf. That was the Wii one that I still have. That was a lot of fun. It was one of the early Wii party games that was just downright bizarre. That was just downright bizarre. And now we've got, like I said, we've got so many Wario stuff. Yeah. Well, I think that's it. I think we're gonna go a little bit short today because I don't want to beat a dead horse and go, oh man, this game is short, this game is small, this game is weird. I think everything that I wanted to say, I've said about it, and I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. You excited?
Sure am, Dave.
You get to play more RuneScape without me in the background.
It's mostly only during recordings anyway.
You've been playing it a lot lately, actually.
I mean, I watch it a lot when or I play it when I'm doing anime watching because I can just do like really AFK stuff and watch my animes. So yeah.
I feel like every time I log on to Discord, you're playing RuneScape.
Sometimes too, it's that I forget to log out of it.
Hey, speaking of Discord, if anyone else wants to find out if I'm, BSing and call me out against the fact that Rob is not playing RuneScape all the time, you can join our public Discord, which shows what we're playing because I've never turned that function off, and I doubt that you're going to turn that function off. And even better, if we're playing a game that you'd like to join us on, you can hit us up and join us. If you'd like to share your memories about the video games we're going to talk about, you can do so on our public Discord. Or if you just like to come and make friends, you can do so on our public Discord. And Rob, where could folks find a link to our public Discord?
Well, Dave, the link that you're talking about can be found at www.memorycardlane.com. There you can find the links to the Discord that Dave talked about, as well as show notes, previous episodes, bio of David, picture of me with some fancy words underneath. Um, and you can find some interest in you can find some info about our Patreon, which Dave will tell you all about.
Oh yeah, our Patreon. Oh man, I'm so on top of things right now. Hey, yeah, guys, if you want to support this fledgling podcast, and I'm sure this plug for it is going to instill a lot of confidence in you, but you can do so for only $2 a month. It's not a big investment. It's the cost of a hot dog or a bag of potato chips nowadays. All the money from our Patreon goes back into our podcast, web hosting and podcast episode hosting and stuff like that. So $2 a month. You could find a link, like Rob said, at our website at www.memorycardlane.com, or you could go directly to Patreon at patreon.com/trip down memory card lane and become one of our patrons in a show of support to our podcast. Yeah. Um Social media. That's the other thing they could find on our website, right, Rob?
That it is, Dave. You can find out what Dave and I do.
Yeah, so I am on Twitter. My Twitter handle is David_is_wrong. I post video game history, wishing happy birthday to video games and other anecdotes. Rob, what are you doing on social media these days?
I can be found occasionally playing a variety of games at twitch.tv /FATBOIRIPZ.
Awesome. Well, I think that'll about do it. Nice, short, and sweet today. I think that'll make some people happy.
I think it will.
Well, you know what? We've been running long for the past couple episodes, and so it evens out sometimes. That's it. It just even out sometimes. I'm gonna give you all some time back. You can go listen to the latest Taylor Swift album or something. I don't know whatever the cool kids are doing these days.
I don't think it's that, Dave.
No, it's not. You sure? I
I
heard I heard T Swift is kind of the end thing. Was I wrong?
I mean, maybe I'm wrong too.
Hmm. I don't know. Well, before I do that, Rob, is there anything that you'd like to add to the episode for the day today?
As always, just want to say thank you to everyone for listening. We do this because we enjoy it, but we hope that you enjoy it too. So let us know your thoughts. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Thank
you
you.
indeed. We appreciate your support week after week. It means a whole lot, to be honest with you. So, well, next week we're gonna have a lot more to talk about. We're gonna party like it's 1999. I don't know why, but I mean, I know why. Let's be honest. Every single freaking time we do a 1999 game, I have to use that. I have to use that. Rob, we're gonna bring guests next week, aren't we?
Are we?
We are. Yes.
We are the youth of the nation.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's definitely gonna be the youth of a nation because you're gonna have to come up with some people, and I will come up with some people. Hopefully, if all of our schedules can match up. 1999 Nintendo 64 million copy game Smash Brothers. You excited?
Hell yeah.
I
That's a
mean,
fun game.
I know we've all played the heck out of Smash Brothers. It's going to be a game that we're going to have a lot to talk about. If I'm not mistaken, you have friends that play competitively, right?
That I do. They have at times with things having been normal would travel around Michigan to different colleges playing tournaments.
There you go.
So
So
yeah.
we're going to have professional Smash gamers, and yeah, it's going to be a fun time. So, what are we gonna do for next week? We gonna do beat 'em up? Beat 'em up. I don't know. So if you want to talk Smash, you want to get your Smash on, join us again next week for a Nintendo themed beat 'em up trip down memory card lane.
Doo doo ba 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 doo wow.